Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Kina.
You hear us?
I'm here too. Hello. Hi, guys.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up.
Yes, good to see everybody.
It's going to be a good episode.
How's things over there? It's still hot. It's still hot as balls here.
Yeah, hot.
It gets hotter at night here for some reason. Honest. Right now, hot.
I know. I'm schwitzing. I know. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this episode.
Me too. Me too.
Are you ready?
If you're just tuning in for the very first time, or you don't know us, I'm Kina Crow.
I'm Chris Dahlquist.
And I'm Beth Bojarski. Hi, guys.
Oh, can't hear her. She's on delay.
Beth is?
Her audio's on delay. Well, that's okay.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yep. Beth's audio is on delay.
Do I just keep talking?
It's kind of fun.
It gets all figured out. Is that the way to do it?
Yeah, we can do that. It's kind of a neat trick, though. It's like a party trick.
Yeah.
I told my dad to have him watch it. He watched the first one, and there was an audio thing as well. I think it's every time Dad watches, something's happening. Am I still delayed?
Not on my end.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's just me. Well, then let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Hey, welcome everybody.
Welcome everybody.
Yeah, if you're joining us on Facebook or on YouTube, we would love your questions and comments. All of them will be compiled. And yes, we've got,
yes, please.
Love your questions.
We're also going to be putting lots of information in on the Facebook, right? Some links and things like that as well.
Right. We'll mention those after the shout out videos and be able to direct you to some of those links.
Yeah, they'll be in the chats and the comments on both YouTube and Facebook.
Perfect. Can I take 1 second to introduce Max?
Yes, please.
Who's doing our little technical switching?
Hi, guys.
Hi, Max.
Hi, Max. Thank you.
It's my little boy.
And we are so thankful to have him.
Aren't we, though?
So what's going on? What's going on? You've been getting busy. You've been getting ready for this episode, Chris. How was your week?
Busy. Yes, getting ready for this episode. All new platforms, steep learning curve. Starting to get a little fun though now that we're getting some skills under our belt, right? Ready to stretch out a little bit more. So yeah. So lots of learning, lots of work. I did manage to get in a beautiful kayak evening. We had unseasonably cool days, so I had a 72-degree evening on the water. That was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you? Beth's got exciting things going on.
Are you going to sleep after this, Chris? I know you were really busy. Tomorrow will be sleep in. All right, good.
Yes. Kyle has already declared a 3-day weekend starting tomorrow.
Nice job, Kyle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Busy in the studio. I've got an episode coming up in about 4 weeks. Have a new kitty. So, a couple days old.
Oh, yay.
I'm not quite sure his habits and his scamperings. I don't think he'll go by, but who knows? My computer that I lost after during the last episode that I talked about is miraculously back. It just decided after I bought a new one, hey, I'm not done yet. So I have 2 computers. That's great. I didn't lose all my information. That's really nice. Otherwise, just painting in the studio. That's me. Kina, what about you? How was your week?
It was my week was good. It's been ridiculously hot here, and I'm kind of made of butter, so I melt in the heat. So I don't do that well, but the AC is working in the studio, so that's awesome. And I've just been working on a bunch of custom orders, which is really fun, and figuring out new stuff. Like people will ask me frequently for things that I don't actually know how to do, so it pushes me, so I figure them out. So yeah, just been doing that. That's about it. Not too exciting. Looking forward to tonight. Number 3. I think we're doing great. We're still here.
Yep, getting better all the time.
Yeah, we have some fun things to show you today. We have a few. Well, why don't you tell them, Beth, about the shout out? Are we ready?
I think so. Yes. We had our first shout out segment last episode. This will be our second. I want to give a big thanks to those who did submit videos. Thank you so much. With the Seesaw shout outs, we want to promote and introduce our viewers to artists you may not have discovered yet. And remember, we want you to do the same. We'll give you some names, give us some names of artists that we might not be aware of, that might not be on our radar. So I'll give you a little information after the video on how to do that. But Max, why don't you play our next segment?
Hi there, I'm Jeff Freling, and this is Aaron McGrane.
And we're shouting out our friend Heidi Pitre from Austin, Texas. We love you, Heidi!
Hi, I'm Ava from Oregon. Check out Aaron Hequembourg.
Hi, I'm Kina Crow from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And if you like my work, you're gonna love Tom Haney.
Three great shout outs, right?
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Oh my gosh. Love Tom Haney's work. Love your work, Erin. I'm familiar with those two artists. And Ava, thanks for introducing me to Heidi. And Heidi, I'll be stalking you in a good way.
Oh, I think it was Aaron and Jeff that introduced us to Heidi, because I didn't know her work either, and I love it. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. I apologize. It was Jeff and Erin. So thank you guys. Thank you, Heidi. I'll be stalking you.
Yeah, and the links are in the comments to all of their. I just see them coming up now, and it looks like Heidi's watching us live from Austin. So
yeah, Aaron just texted me, so he's like, "Hey, that's me." Yeah, I mean, I've been in love with his work ever since. I mean, I saw it, I think years ago, like 12 years ago was the first time I saw it, and I've always absolutely loved his work. But Tom Haney's work, I've never seen it in person. I've been like a fangirl stalking him online, and it's amazing. But Beth, you knew his work, so thank you guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I'm a couple feet away from me. I love my Tom Haney piece. But again, you guys, I'll go over it. Super easy to send us your name, your shout out name. Take your phone, film a 10, 15-second video. Tell us the name of tell us your name first, where you're from, and then give us the name of the artist you'd like to shout out, where they're from, and their medium. We have information listed right here. As you can see, that was on the screen. It's at the end of the shout out video. It's at the end of this episode, as well as in the comment section of the episode on Facebook and on YouTube. So we tried to put it in a lot of different spots so that it's easy to find. If you go to the link, it will guide you through simple steps in submitting your video. Then we will take it from there. So give us the names.
Speaking of shout outs, I've got an extra shout out this week. Some good friends of mine from Artist Inc. here in Kansas City, Annie Kalahurka and Danielle Anderson, are debuting a new podcast next week called The Big Cookie. They have, it follows two artists and friends as they read through a self-help book called Calling in the One that advertises to attract the love of your life in 7 weeks. Annie and Danielle open up and share a lot about their romantic, professional, and very personal experiences while reading the book. These two ladies are some of the most fun and the funniest women I know. And so I think if you're enjoying what we're doing here, I think you'll really enjoy what they've got going on. So it debuts next week, and you can find out more about it at thebigcookiepodcast.com. I cannot wait to hear.
Awesome. Me too. Yeah.
Are up to.
Yeah, I binge podcasts, so I'm really, this one sounds like it's going to be hysterical. So,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
I think that's what we both do, right, Kina? In the studio, we've got our podcast going, and
Beth turns me on to the best podcasts too.
Back and forth we go.
I'm doing a lot of true crime, so I'm up for a little levity. Right now.
I agree.
So we'll hear back from them in a couple of weeks and hear how it's going after it premieres. But
yeah. I'm super excited. I'm really happy for them. That's super exciting. So we have some questions that people wrote in for us on Facebook, and so we want to go ahead and answer some of those questions. We only have time for 3, but we're gonna eventually answer everybody's question. Maybe we'll do a Zoom and post it on YouTube and Facebook. But these are some really good questions. So, hey Max, can you bring up? There we go.
All right. So this is from another Artist Inc. friend in Kansas City. Sandy Leppin asks, can you talk about taking time to creatively recharge and redirect? And what are your best techniques for that? So Beth, let's start with you in our lightning round of questions.
Well, let's see. When I need to kind of shake things up and recharge, I collect the little tourist spoons, the little, the state spoons. I only have 3.
Really?
a budding collection.
Collection. The hunt continues. It feels good to get out there, do a search, relaxes me.
I think
find the spoons. If you have a spoon, don't send it. I need to find them myself.
You need to find the spoons.
The cities energize me, friends, and dinner and get-togethers with friends. I try to get out of the studio to be sure I do that, so that it gives me just a little more to get back in the studio. What about you, Kina?
Me, I clean my house. It's like, because I work all the time. I work really long hours. And even when we were doing shows and there's that deadline for a show, I would try to squeeze one more piece because I have all these ideas. And so and I like to work, but I'll go through these weeks where all I'm doing is working and my house turns to absolute chaos. But that's it kind of actually like cleaning my house and like getting everything orderly again. Because I'm like a Tasmanian devil and like shit just goes flying, but I like it organized. So it brings me back. So I have to I trash it and then I have to clean it up.
I should probably do
No,
that.
it's not very exciting. It's not as good as spoons.
I think this probably speaks to how much time we all spend in the studio, right? What's your recharge? I eat dinner. I clean my house.
Yeah,
actually, I do a little more getting out there.
Yes,
Maybe
you do, but it's part of your process.
It is part of my process. I like to joke that those photographs don't take themselves, right? I have to get out. But so my big things are about 5 years ago, we started kayaking fairly seriously, including kayaking from Kansas City to St. Louis. So we try to get out a time or two a week. And anyway, so kayaking. And then I'm a really, really voracious reader. I read a lot. And so that's my other thing that's kind of non-negotiable. Make time every single day to read.
Nice. I did notice a book question that we'll need to answer what's in the comments. And I think it's a great question. So we'll be sure to, it had come in earlier before today. So we'll have to be sure to answer the question about books.
I'll just do an episode on books.
Oh, there you go.
That's why they wouldn't let us ask that question, because they were afraid of how long I'd go on. Right.
Okay, what's the next question? This is from Stephen King. You have all championed collaborating on this project. Have you considered fusing your artistic talents? I would especially love to see a creative collaboration with Chris and Kyle Dalquist.
Done. There you go.
Done. Well, so I think it's thanks for that, Stephen. Kyle and I are working on some ideas for some larger collaborations. But I think actually maybe all of us have got people contributing to our work. And I would say to large part, my work's already a collaboration in that what Kyle brings to the studio is really important for influencing how the work developed and how it came out, particularly the larger scale work that I'm doing. Kyle does a lot of the problem solving. So unfortunately, he doesn't often get the credit publicly that he deserves, but I would say at 100% he's a collaborator in the studio. But there will be, even tonight, there'll be a little bit more of a collaboration where you'll hear some of Kyle's underscoring under the video that I made.
Yeah. The noisemaker in residence.
Right?
What about you, Beth?
Collaborations? Mark, I mean, there's a little bit between Mark and I on some frames that Mark makes. Gorgeous, handmade, one-of-a-kind frames. I think we have had 2 projects that I did a figurative face I did a painting and then incorporated it into a sculpture, and then I think a 3D face as well as the second one. We haven't done a lot of it, but it is always on my mind to do. It's just sometimes so hard just to stop yourself and give yourself time to play like that.
Yeah.
I would love to do more and with other artists as well.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's make a show.
Kina, how about you, Kina?
No, nobody wants to work with me because I'm too bossy. Or
it got really quiet there.
No, I mean, my mother used to tell me that, you're so bossy. And, I'm the oldest, though. I'm the oldest of three. And,
we weren't going to tell anyone.
I mean, I had to
We weren't going to tell that.
I don't know, Chris, you're pretty bossy too.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the baby and the bossy.
It was National Middle Child Day. I think yesterday, maybe the day before. I'm a middle child, so it was my day.
That's an interesting dynamic that we have going on here that I didn't know about before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got one more question, right?
Last question, Max, from Robin Cates. Thanks, Robin, for sending question. Lots of us swoon for each of your work. Oh, thanks. Whose work makes you swoon? Oh, whose work makes you swoon, Kina?
Well, Miss Beth, I currently swoon. I've been swooning over Beth Bojarski. I mean, it's honest to God's truth. I'm a Beth Bojarski swooner, and actually, my husband actually got her to do a portrait of me for my birthday last year, and I have a painting. I have a Beth Bojarski coming one day in the future. Yeah, I wanted it for my 60th birthday, which is not that far away. So, really, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't know what I'm doing here. I need to be working on that painting. Okay.
Chris, who makes you swoon?
So I kind of took the question a different direction, and I was thinking historically. A lot of my contemporary friends make me swoon. Y'all included, the Whipples, a lot of the people that were shouting out to. So I was thinking historically, it's a lot of the photographers from the turn of the last century. So Joseph Sudak is kind of one that kind of I return to all the time, kind of when I need inspiration and stuff as well. So he's a Czech photographer from the turn of the century.
Nice. I want to check that. I don't know. I have a book on Steichen.
Right. Right.
Which actually, yeah. I mean, I love Steichen. I love Steichen. So.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah. So check out Sudak. SUD.
Okay, I will. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Beth,
Nice.
who makes you swoon? I'm very curious.
The person, and you guys are so right. I mean, it doesn't have to be said. I hunt down artists at shows to see their new work, but Matthew Cornell is
okay.
He's a painter, and when I know, I don't see him as much anymore. His work is that great that he doesn't do the shows as much. But when I know he's at a show, I hunt him down, and that's my break time, and I study his work. It's great. And Michael Madso.
Oh yeah.
And Michael Madso, his work, I don't know how he does it. I've known him for years. I've never asked. I don't want to know. I love the puzzle. I love studying it. It's really unique. It's gorgeous. Those are my two huge swoons. Thank you.
We don't get to see them often enough at shows, right? So it's such a treat when get to see their work in person.
Yes. So thank you for all the questions. And again, the ones that we didn't get a chance to answer, we're going to come up with creative ways to be sure those responses get out there.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. It's nice to it's nice to get the wheels spinning. And I miss that. I miss the questions from being at the shows and my glib answers. But now it's time. Yes. Oh, look at her. now it's time for our featured artist to see Chris's video that she's been working on. I'm super excited for everybody to see this. Hey, Max, would you run Chris's video for us?
Hi, I'm Chris Dahlquist, a visual artist and photographer that lives in, and importantly, travels from Kansas City, the middle of everywhere. In my mixed media photography, I blend historic photographic tradition and technique with contemporary technology to make quiet images of in-between spaces, the ones where we must be mindful to appreciate the subtle beauty that resides there. I photograph and create islands of solitude, the places with fewer fireworks but more daydreams, the silence that allows that inner dialogue to be heard. I think of my photography like a poem, so spare that each word must have impact to earn its place on the page. It's work that shows a quiet confidence, not to say more than is needed. I found the camera at a young age, and it provided the lens, pun intended, to slow down the busy world and my spinning brain. I was and still am at alternate times all of these children, holding on for dear life, calm in the center, relishing the thrill of being on the edge. But like it did with this picture, the camera lets me pause the world and act as an observer. It narrows my field of vision, allowing me to capture what is before me. And then once back in the quiet of my studio, it allows me the time to study what I have captured. It's like gathering field specimens to take into the lab to study, with the right tools, the time, and the space to do so. Once in my studio, filtered through my lens and my visual vocabulary, it is distilled into its most basic elements, a return to the center. For over 20 years, I have traveled approximately 6 months out of the year, or in other words, spent 10 years in motion. I have lived big. I've seen a lot of rainbows, watched sunsets, hiked mountains and forests, heard waves crashing, and kayaked too many oceans, lakes, and rivers to count. I've listened to live music from the intimacy of a hotel room to grand concert halls and everything in between. My first date with Kyle over 31 years ago included a serenade. Is this abundance? Yes, but you already knew that. It is not necessary for me to point out the beauty of this rainbow, or the crystal clear water below the soaring Tetons, the magic of the redwood forest, or treasures found in faraway lands. But let me instead frame for you the abundance found in fresh air. The water's edge. Solitude. Gentle waves. Silence. The sea. And a habitat's edge. How do we measure this abundance when there's nothing within our frame to count? How do we measure the value of something that can't be quantified? When society is busy doing a cost-benefit analysis, how do we measure abundance? The sky, the wind, silence, time to be alone with our thoughts. In this new series, Measuring Abundance, I continue my practice of utilizing materials, layers, texture, and the mark of my hand to further the story of the photographs I have captured. For this body, I'm using semi-translucent acetate over a traditional rag paper, obscuring details and adding marks created both digitally and by hand. When I am creating artwork, it is not a linear process. I follow my curiosity, taking all that is going on around me, other projects I'm involved in, things I'm reading. It's all grist for the mill. It all gets poured into the hopper, and then I slow down. Weeks on end in the camper, hiking and kayaking and photographing. And then I return to the studio, working intuitively. All of those experiences find their way into the artwork, sometimes in ways that surprise even me. And then it is only in looking back after it's created that I see the influences, the elements it has in common with my previous work, and the meaning. That is to say that when I begin a new series, I don't set out to tell a particular story. I have images I want to explore and a vague notion of where I want to head, and then I begin playing with archived photographs and materials, often returning to materials that were part of previous experiments, and then are set aside until they are needed. The primary material in Measuring Abundance, a milky white acetate, first made its appearance as negatives for a small series of photogravure prints. It had a small cameo in a one-off piece I made for a benefit, and then it graced the wall next to my desk for a couple of years. Another tool in my tool belt to be deployed when needed. The materiality and the layering of materials is the most constant element throughout my artwork and can be seen in every series I have created, each using different materials that serve to tell a different story. And if I'm honest, I will tell you that after years of wrestling steel through my printer for the mile marker series, and unreliably sourcing a washi paper from Japan for ghost notes, when I began making work for this new series, I had every intention to make works on single layers of paper that was readily available and that came with a user's manual. Let's just say I failed, because that's not what the artwork wanted or needed to be. While the prints on paper were beautiful, they lacked the interest and discovery that I look for in my original works. The layers that allow the viewer to find new things when viewed from different angle or different light. On paper, they are a beautiful image, but I am increasingly understanding my need to make a beautiful object, one that is meant to be experienced, not simply viewed. In fact, one of my favorite things to see at a show is when someone understands the work is changing and begins bobbing around, moving side to side or up and down to get a different view. This is especially true of this work, as viewing it from different angles reveals marks and shadows present on the underlayer, but not readily apparent from straight on. And finally, after the first pieces of a series are complete, I begin understanding the work, and that's where I am right now with Measuring Abundance. My personal understanding of the work begins with its relationship to my ongoing series, Mile Markers and Ghost Notes. And for me, there's an interesting dialogue between them as they track along with my personal journey. I see mile markers as an outward exploration, literally taking in a wide horizon to horizon view, a search outside myself. And in contrast, Ghost Notes is a very internal exploration, a quieter one. The field of vision is so much smaller, it leads to the introspection. And Measuring Abundance feels like the tension between the external and the internal. When I think about abundance, I think about what I value in terms of stillness and spaciousness. But in the cult of busyness and ROIs, that's not what the external world values. That tension I feel is mirrored visually as the organic landscape contrasts with the regimented grid. It might not be consciously perceived, but that tension is felt. And then there's the mark of my hand, pen and pencil marks attempting to navigate the space between the two. A regimented grid isn't new to my work. It has shown up in other ways, but almost always as a problem-solving device, allowing me to create large-scale pieces with smaller materials. But for some reason, in this work, though I didn't have that problem to solve, I was really attracted to the idea of a grid. I experimented with different ways to create it, including cutting up past work and recompiling it, folding paper, weaving materials. But ultimately, the grid that I laid on top of the images to be able to cut it up became more interesting to me than actually physically cutting the piece. Then after the fact, I recognized how much the grid and cutting up space, or thinking about space in those terms, was a part of my current circumstance and how foreign it felt to me. Kyle and I recently purchased a long derelict building that sits across the street from our house. With this new project and my interest in finding new ways to support artists, I've been very involved in the conversation around real estate development, the role of the artist in that development, and building affordable cities and communities. And so many of these conversations, and of course all the conversations Kyle and I are having about how to bring this building back to life, are centered around value per square foot or acre, cost and return per square foot, parcels and lot lines, return on investment. Everything is about cutting up space to value it. Likewise, in a recent consulting project where I was evaluating the creative economy in Des Moines, I was tasked with demonstrating the value artists bring to that community. If I could put it on a graph, that was even better. Living somewhere more aesthetically pleasing or with rich cultural offerings isn't a compelling argument to the powers that be, but having a 13% increase in average property values is. But is that abundance? Recognizing clues to my personal meaning with the artwork is only half the story, and I often hesitate to tell as much as I already have, because I really want all of my work to be open-ended, with a lot of room for the viewer's interpretation, giving just enough hint at the meaning through the titles while allowing plenty of room for the viewer to add their own story. And that's the part I'm really missing right now, is hearing those stories. Because ultimately, it's you that helps me understand the work and add depth to the meaning. For instance, in February at Sagar Bradis Gallery, my longtime partner, the only chance I've had to share the work, I was visiting with an attorney that told me that the grids, particularly the grids going into the sky, made her think about law regarding property rights and the new concerns that have to do with how far our rights extend into the sky. Another layer of meaning I would have never considered, but is interesting to ponder. What is abundance? Can we measure it? It's an important question to ask, especially now. Has the value of solitude changed as so many are missing their friends and loved ones? How about space and expansiveness when the way to stay healthy is to keep our distance? How does the meaning of abundance change over time? A cone, ambiguous and paradoxical, fodder for my busy brain. But for the person in my booth that when I ask them, isn't the why more interesting than the how? And they answered with a quick and flat no, it can stand up to having no meaning at all. Just a beautiful object in its own right. It doesn't have to be profound or challenging or political. It looks damn good on the wall. There doesn't have to be much more to it than that.
Wow.
Yay, Chris. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm swooning.
Chris.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Chris, you know, I hadn't seen this body of work until today. And I think it's stunning. And how you speak of it is so eloquent.
Thanks.
I just love how thoughtful it is. The question you pose, how to measure abundance. Do you feel you, not everyone, but you yourself are closer maybe to an answer, or are you just savoring the exploration of that question?
I think I'm just savoring the exploration of that, and I think it's, God, it's changing so much right now, right? Like I started this work kind of pre-pandemic, and maybe my answer would have been completely different in February when I showed it than right now. So I think it's kind of a question for our time, but maybe a question for all time, right? How do we define abundance? I give workshops, goal setting workshops, and financial workshops for artists, and in one of the workshops that I give, I divide the questions between what is success, and then I ask them what is abundance. And so many times there's a disconnect between those two answers, which was also another part of starting to ask this question. Like, what are we seeking?
The question that you had been asking in the workshops, and were you asking it? Were you asking the question to yourself every time you'd give the workshop as well?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. It's just kind of a gut check before goal setting, or and before in particular, I ask it at the beginning of a financial workshop.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I have to read this. I have to read a couple comments here. One is from Katie Stover, and it says, I learned so much when Chris talks about art, which I have to say thank you for that, because I totally agree. She's like,
and that is high praise. Let me tell you, Katie Stover is a director of reader services at the Kansas City Library.
Okay.
So,
okay. I just thought
she makes me Swoon, right? She's in charge of the books.
Oh,
that's great.
Good. And from Lisa Kattenbracker said, Chris, that made me cry, and me too. And I have to say, I have always loved your work. I was stalking you on the internet 2 years before I ever even met you or saw your work in person. But you're such a wordsmith too. So you're such a wordsmith. You're one of the smartest people I know. Okay, so now I'm totally fangirling you, but I look at this work, and I mean it's so interesting to me, because I remember the first time that I ever saw the Mile Marker series, and it was like a year or two after I had met you, and I think we were down in Tampa, and I'm like a block away, and there's this corner booth and these glowing images, and I was like trucking my little chubby little butt down there to like see it, and I was like, is this your new work? And the thing is that one of the things I loved about it so much is that it just drew you in. It was so expansive. But this, ironically, is even bigger. I mean, it's weird. It's just an image. I don't know. And I think for sure my favorite one, I think you showed it twice, is that like completely glass-like water with the grid on that. I'm like, I just want to go and be there. I absolutely love that. And I'm curious. So do you have these online? You have on your website right now. So I want to, one thing that I've for sure noticed, I have to say with the Mile Marker series, I have a Ghost Notes as well, is that I think, as awesome as it looks, your works always look amazing online, but they look even more amazing in person because they're all alive.
I think that might be actually even more the case with this work. We kind of we joke around the studio that I keep making work that's harder and harder to photograph. So ironically, as a photographer, I'm like making my job harder and harder. But I think as it gets further away from a traditional photograph, you need to be able to change your angle. That's kind of what it's about, is it being alive. And I think in particular, there's an expectation because it's a photograph that you're getting the whole story when you see it on the screen. So I think that's part of the surprise too. Like, when we see one of your sculptures, Kina, we know that it's going to look different when we see it in 3 dimensions. But our expectation of a photograph is a little bit different. We don't necessarily expect it to be so different as an object that it is on the screen.
Which is what, so my mile markers, those like when the sun hits them, they light up the whole room. They're so amazing. They look different at every different time of the day. But so I know that you made those. Every single one was technically a one of a kind because you printed each image in one size. And so how are you planning to how are you editioning these? Are they?
Yeah. So technically each one of these is an original because of the mark making and all the handwork. However, I am making them in short editions. So I'm making 12 of each image, regardless of the size that I make it in. So 12 total of each image.
That's very small though.
Yeah, really small particularly for a photographer. But, the real fun for me is the exploration of images. And so I want to create a situation in my studio where I'm constantly exploring new images. I don't want to be, that's the fun part, right? For me is the exploration. I want to go back to what you said about it feeling even more expansive, because I think it's actually kind of interesting with the idea of the work in terms of measuring abundances. I think the grid on there actually helps it seem more expansive. For one thing, I think our eyes move around that grid differently, but also it kind of questions this, like, if we can measure something, does it seem bigger? Right? Like that makes that makes that horizon feel further away because the lines are diminishing, right? And so you have a sense of how big it is, where otherwise you don't necessarily. So it's kind of appropriate for the work, right? In terms
Can
of
you speak to those spaces as far as do you know what you want to photograph for the series? Did you know what you wanted to photograph and you sought them out, or was it incidental when you were in a moment and you?
So I'm photographing all the time, right? I'm collecting images. So I've got files of images that I want to explore and materials I want to explore. So I make a few pieces playing with the materials and then start expanding out from there within my archives of images that I've taken but haven't had opportunity to explore yet. So like that water piece, it lives as a very different piece in the Ghost Note series.
I didn't know.
Well, it's so altered. It's really unrecognizable.
Oh,
There's actually
completely.
I guess, the secret is there's people in it in the original, right? So that's kind of how far it moves off the original. I think of the work kind of like a work of fiction based on a true story. Like our expectation is that it's a photograph, that it's a true, but it's a work of fiction.
Right. Ooh, cool.
And so then once I begin the series and collect images out of my archive, then I see the world differently, because then I'm looking for more opportunities to add to that series. So it actually makes my experience of photographing different. So when I'm out in my kayak or whatever, I'm looking now for opportunities to photograph for the Ghost Note series or for this series or for the mile markers. Right.
And
so
when you go out, you're ready to shoot. There's not a moment you're in your kayak and you just think, oh my gosh, and you have to paddle back.
Sometimes I do a lot of paddling back, hold, wait for light, whatever. But each one, then it kind of becomes a little bit like a scavenger hunt, right? Then I'm looking for more images for all of these different series. So that's one of the reasons why I always have multiple series going on at all times, is that, I'm shooting those in different different conditions, different lighting conditions. So then any given day that I'm out shooting, there's things that are going to be appropriate for one series or another.
I think I have to say, like, the first thing when I see this work is that I, like, as big as an expansive as it is here in my mind, I'm looking at it and it's like getting bigger in my mind. I kind of want to see it really, really, really big. So how big can you go?
Well, I'm really curious to figure that out and to find that out. With the acetate that I'm using now, I'm about at my limit probably. Those finished pieces are 30 by 40. And if that acetate gets much larger, I'm not going to be able to suspend it over the bottom layer because I'm holding it taut with about a 1/4 inch between. So I'm playing with some other materials that are more rigid that would give me the same
nice
visual quality, but I'd be able to hold over that.
Yeah.
Larger. And so that will be working with an external printer. I do all my printing currently in my studio, but to move to that new material, it'll be finding a partner, a printing partner. So yeah, I can't wait. I just finished another proposal for some public artwork, which is large scale. So getting more and more opportunities to really work at a large scale and with the new materials.
So this is just the beginning of this series.
Yeah.
It's in its early stages as opposed to there it is, it's completed. Okay.
Yeah. So super early on, right? And the dialogue and then going out to photograph then is kind of the next stages. And of course, I haven't had as much of that as I normally would, right? And so it's slowly coming. I mean, there's of course still images in my archive that I want to play with, but
I have to read one more comment here that I absolutely love. It's from Heidi Pitre. It says, Chris's work is so eerily eloquent. Love, love, love. And I think so too. It has that, especially this, this body of work. Anyway, yay, Chris.
Well, also big shout out to Kyle for the music under how much that added to.
Yes, it was lovely.
And folks that know Kyle as a musician know that kind of can probably see the dialogue between that work, because what he often adds is kind of a real spare kind of eloquent addition to whatever groups he's playing with. And so
I also wanted to say I love that picture in the beginning of the kids on that little merry-go-round, the playground equipment. I love that.
So I recently was asked my favorite photograph I had ever taken, and I would say that is maybe it, because I think it explains all my other work. It's the antithesis of my other work. It's why I make my other work.
And when did you take that photograph?
I took it probably 7 or 8 years ago in Sun Valley, Idaho. I actually happened to have a new camera. It was my first trip out with that new camera, and we were having a slow show day. And so Kyle watched the booth, and I wandered around with my camera just actually to learn the technology of my camera. And so I was, looking at how it stopped motion or didn't, as the case may be.
Awesome.
So but that's an example of a photo that doesn't quite fit in any of my series, but it does hang on the wall right here next to me in my living room. It's my own.
Can I get one? Can we get one?
It's the only piece of my own work that's in my house, actually.
I know I don't have.
But that wheel is
If somebody is interested in learning more, acquiring a piece, seeing a piece, if they're close by, if they're in your neighborhood, Chris, how can they do that?
We're happy to have people at the studio safely, of course, masks, one at a time. We're near downtown Kansas City. I'm just in talks with a new gallery, so hopefully people will be able to see it live at another gallery soon. And then my website is chrisdahlquist.com. Or if someone's interested, they can write me and we can do, a virtual FaceTime or Zoom. I can walk them around some pieces.
Yes.
Yeah, really be able to kind of see what's happening as you move around or see them in different light.
Right. Great. Well, thank you. Thank
you so much, Chris. That was beautiful. It was so
Thank
beautiful. You have too many like incredible comments for me to even like read them all. But
although I do see my nephews here. Hi, Wyatt. Hi, Wyatt. Good to see you.
Oh, so super. We're running out of time a little bit. But so we've got to talk about what's up next. What's up for our next episode when is that? It's 2 weeks, only 2 weeks. Why do we do this every 2 weeks? Our next episode is going to be, on August 27th with Mark Winter. It's Mark Winter is our featured artist with his lovely wife, Beth Bojarski, and this will be the Lincoln tour. Oh, there he is. That's the guy. Don't miss it. It's gonna be awesome. I'm a swooner for Mark too. I'm a Beth swooner.
Can I just say one thing? You people expect me to follow Chris Dahlquist's video?
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Kyle's for hire, Mark. Kyle's for hire.
I would take. Yeah.
I can't. That's just not fair, Chris. That was.
I know, isn't that lovely? It was beautiful.
I mean, I think it's fun. I was having the same feeling about following Kina's video. Kina set the bar, right? Absolutely.
Not even.
And so I think it demonstrates what is so amazing about working together with other artists, right? We are pushing one another. So you're up, Mark.
Okay, wow. Well,
it's gonna be fun.
Those are big shoes to. I don't even know what to say. I watched your thing. I'm wiping tears off my eyes.
I know everybody's crying.
Oh, wow. But anyway, I think the good news is, or the interesting news is, after that beautiful, quiet, calm, mine's going to be loud and rusty and sharp and dangerous. And there's going to be Slayer playing in the background, probably. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of. I'm trying to use curse words, right?
Sure.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that we'll put a little censor dot over.
Censor the whole thing.
Yes, to the big dot.
You're going to need some peroxide and a lot of Band-Aids, and there's going to be a lot of sparks. And
get your tetanus shot before the next episode.
Would be a good idea. Earplugs would be good. So
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Just don't start drinking at noon again. There you go. The last video.
So we'll see you. And thank you guys, Project, for the opportunity to be a part of this. Thank you.
Oh my God, we can't wait.
Super fun. You guys are working hard. I love it. That's it. We'll see you.
Thanks, Mark.
2 weeks.
Where's the camera?
Only 2 weeks. So okay, we're almost out of time. Chris, can you just tell everybody how to follow us?
Yeah.
That good stuff.
So, we named it the Seesaw Project because the seesaw takes two, right? So it's us and y'all in this together. So if you like what we're doing and you want to help us and other working artists that we're featuring increase their audience, please tell your friends about the show and like our page on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It might seem like that's a small thing, but that's a way you can help both us and other artists right now in this crazy time when we are not having any shows. Additionally, if you'd like to help us defray the cost, there's a link in the comments to our, we've got a donation page. Donation of any size will help us defray the cost of the technology that we're using, or you can Venmo us at Seesaw Project. Lastly, if you've got a show, a business, or a studio that's interested in sponsoring an episode, that will help us move forward with the project and introduce more artists. And if you've got any other skills, PR, marketing, writer, audio visual support,
makeup artist,
haircuts, good cocktails. We're open to hearing what you've got and exploring how we might work together. So we really appreciate you being with us. We're really at the start of this journey of Seesaw Project, and we could use some help to move forward. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, okay. So do we need, let's see, I can't remember. What's our next thing?
Thank you, Max.
We're gonna say some thank yous. Yes?
Yes.
We got a few thank yous. Special thanks to Stephen King and the Des Moines Art Festival. Avalon Bloodgood, what an awesome name. Fabulous Mark Winter. Kyle Dalquist for his amazing noise making. Max Crow, my awesome youngest son.
Max.
Christina Robertson for her just being the cutest human on the planet. Jeff Freling and Aaron McGrane, aka Victor and Penny. Thank you for your shout out. Miss you guys.
And then we do want to again mention the names of the shout out artists. Thank you for sending us your images. Go and check out their work. Heidi Pitre, Aaron Hequembourg, and Tom Haney, 3 fantastic artists.
And don't forget, you can see more of all of the 3 of us at bethbojarski.com, kinacrow.com, and chrisdahlquist.com. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming. Thanks for watching, for tuning in. And thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Bye.